David Menzies for Rebel News here in Toronto. And folks, if you can, please go to journalistdefensefund.com. And if you're able to, make a donation. We have security costs, we have legal fees, and we need to pay those bills so that we can continue to bring you the other side of the story. Well, folks, I'm at BMO Field here in Toronto, the home of the Toronto Argonauts. And how do you like that, sports fans? Even before it begun, the Canadian Football League season for 2020 is over. And the reason for that? Well, the league could not secure a $30 million loan from the federal government. And it's a bit of a shame. Look, the CFL, it's a private business. I am a subscriber to capitalism, Darwinism, if you will, sink or swim, yet they were not asking for a handout. They were not asking for a grant. It was a loan to be paid back to help the CFL pay for its bills, especially because the CFL, unlike so many other leagues, is a gate-driven business. And of course, there would be no fans watching the games had a CFL season begun, much like the leagues such as Major League Baseball, the NHL, the NBA, and Major League Soccer. Now, the other thing, too, is that certainly the Wuhan virus is not a fault of the CFL. This is the fault, of course, of China, that basic kind of dictatorship that Justin Trudeau, our Prime Minister, has admiration for.
There's a level of admiration I actually have for China.
And yet there would be no loan for the Canadian Football League. And so for the first time in a century, there will be no CFL games this summer and fall. And, I couldn't help but notice one of the tweets from a Liberal MP that went out recently, Peter Fragiskatos. And he said this, quote, "The federal government made the right decision here. While the CFL is an extremely important part of our sport heritage, it is not entitled to special treatment. Some fans will be very disappointed, but the league's ask simply wasn't fair or reasonable," end quote. Isn't that the definition of chutzpah, folks? A Liberal MP talking about special treatment and things that are fair or reasonable. Yeah, special treatment, like the CFL, it's not quite SNC Lavalin or the We charity, is it? And a $30 million loan, yeah, that's not quite an almost $1 billion contract to that aforementioned We so-called charity. I mean, give me a break. So really, given that $30 million, heck, that's chump change for the recently departed finance minister, Bill Morneau. This government in the last 6 months has spent more than a Canadian government should spend in one decade. So really, what is the real reason for the federal government giving the thumbs down to the CFL? Well, you know what? I think they just don't like the idea of something like football. It's a very non-diverse sport. It is 100% men that are filling the uniforms of the 9 CFL teams. And, there's all that tackling, all that rough stuff. It really is, when you think about it, from a liberal point of view, so much toxic masculinity on the field. And hey, it's not just football, folks. Consider their attitude towards the Toronto Blue Jays. Both Mayor John Tory and Premier Doug Ford gave the Blue Jays the green light to play their games out of the Sky Dome. And wouldn't you know it, Justin Trudeau and his Liberal comrades, they said, "Night, it's too much of a risk health-wise." So the Jays had to literally shuffle off to Buffalo to play their games there. Yeah, I guess all those bats and balls and running around and hitting home runs, that too is a bit of toxic masculinity. So be it baseball or football, the Liberals seem very much prepared to make sure that Toronto and several other Canadian cities go sportsless this summer because, hey, it's just politically correct for them to turn down these kind of manly pursuits. For Rebel News, I'm David the Menzoid Menzies. Hey folks, if you can, please go to journalistdefensefund.com. We have security bills, we have legal fees. We have to pay those bills so that we can continue to bring you the other side of the story.